Speaking of standing for more than just price, we've got Mr. Scott Bauer with a look at a couple stocks that he's got on his radar after a look at a couple I've got on mine. Let's bring him in. He's the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy. He's joining us here on Midday Movers to talk gamers. Scott, thanks for joining us here this afternoon on a Thursday. Let's dive right into Activision. I noticed some comments from an analyst which were favoring Activision. They're going higher, but we have EA. He basically said he favors Activision over EA. EA is going a little bit lower, and Take-Two seems to be on the upside as well here. Let's start with ATVI, though. What are you seeing there today?
So, Ben, first, you were talking about some gaps just now, and you were talking about, some areas in the stocks you were looking at where sellers had come in. So put up the chart of ATVI and go back to just about a year ago. Okay, last November earnings, you'll see a huge gap from about 65 down to, 57-ish area. Okay, the stock has taken 10 months to get back up to that gap area of 57 and a half or so. It actually touched today. It actually traded through there today with massive rejection. That, what we're looking at there, that gap type of fill, is something that traders look at as an indicator, a technical indicator. And it certainly worked today. And even though if you look at the option volume, there's a ton of call buying, man, oh man, this thing almost to the penny rejected at that gap area.
Possibly a little bit overdone then. This has been trending higher though, Scott, if you take a look since middle of August, 44.80, 44.90, all the way up into and through that 55 level. Again, I do see, if you take a look at the intraday time frame, what you're talking about in terms of some of that rejection, certainly coming off the high today of 57.52, currently trading 55.47, up 1%. What does this do in terms of Take-Two, and what does this mean for another big name that was caught up in this report, EA?
You know what? I actually like EA. I know the analyst that you talked about said he favors Activision, over EA. I'm looking at it more from a technical standpoint, not the fundamental side of things. And when I look at the EA chart here, this thing, it is coming up against some resistance up here, but has been trading rather sideways. And I think it actually has some more upside in the near term than Activision does.
All right, another stock that's been trending higher off the middle of August, lower levels. They tested just below 90, currently back up above 90, so about a similar move dollar-wise, not necessarily percentage-wise, obviously, but if I take a look at these two, if I pull up EA on a daily time frame, and I'm going to pull it up side by side here for I've got Activision, ATVI on a daily as well. I'm going to just point out here, Scott, that this is interesting, and I can see why you're a little bit more inclined to the EA side of things, because if you take a look, as you pointed out a minute ago, EA has yet to get up above that consolidation area, that upper level 108, 110, versus we just saw Activision attempt to get up above that level, and well, it seems to be failing. Talk to us about what you're seeing here today in ticker symbol TTWO, though.
Yeah, in this one, again, from a technical standpoint, if you look at the last 5 to 6 months, the 50-day moving average, that has really held as some very serious support for this stock. And it's trading right there again right now. So over that time span, we've seen higher highs, higher lows, but with that 50-day moving average really coming in as some big support. So this is another one here that, looking, again, just technically, not fundamentally at the stock, looking technically, this may have some upside to it as well.
All right, Scott, I've actually got all three of them side by side here, and definitely a bit of a different story if you look at this one because, well, we can see, again, we just talked about Activision, we talked about EA in terms of their attempts to break out of the ranges that they've been in, but this stock, Scott, this one's been on a tear. Take-Two, we're talking about from the lows late last year, 84.41, all the way up to the 135 level recently. A significant pullback here, though, currently trading 126. They're actually, if you take a look, currently trading up on the day by 2 3/4%. Scott, what do you look for as some of the dust settles from this type of activity here today?
Again, I would look to see if we get some decent volume, some decent trade right in this range here and take two at that 50-day moving average. And if it just kind of consolidates a little bit there, that's what I want to see for that breakout next, the next breakout to the upside.
All right, Scott, this was a good look at a few gamers. Really appreciate you joining us and bringing your A game as always. Right. That's Scott Bauer. He's the CEO of Prosper Trading Academy, and look forward to having you back here in the near future, Scott. Hey.